We're trying to get through the rest of this week. We have a lot more to look forward to, but some news has arrived, okay, involving the Eagles coaching staff, defensive coordinator specifically, okay? Let's get straight into the news, injury updates, all that stuff. Philadelphia Eagles, let's get into it.
Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
So we got some news on defensive coordinator now. I know we have to get through this week. I know the Eagles have a big week, NFC Championship game against the 49ers at home. It's going to be lit. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait. But important things are coming now. Now we need to see this coaching staff on where it's going to go. Shane Steichen going for jobs. Jonathan Gannon has completed his Texans interview. I think it was like a week ago he completed that interview, or a week or two ago, whatever it was. Okay, the Eagles, as much as they have to prepare for this game, they have to prepare and kind of do their homework on, they'll know if Gannon is going to leave, and it seems like, sure fine that the Texans are really honing in on just Jonathan Gannon. I'm not really sure, because I know the Texans have interviewed Shane Steichen as well. Both of our coordinators have completed both of those interviews. So, news has came out. Vic Fangio. And this is a weird one here. Okay, it's from Dave. It's from NFL Writers. This is legit. This isn't third party. Technically it's third party, but it's from a big following NFL writer. NFL covers everything NFL. Works for the NFL. Okay, that the Eagles are expected to make an aggressive play for longtime NFL defensive coordinator Vic Fangio in case they lose defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon on the head coaching position. Gannon is strong candidate for the Texans per Albert Breer. So it looks pretty promising that Gannon is going to be 100% gone. Now, I kind of looked at this whole thing. Now, the whole thing with Sean Payton, we saw like maybe 4 weeks ago. Sean Payton is getting back into coaching going into next year, okay? And he was kind of getting his coaching staff together. And the first name on his list was Vic Fangio. Now, Vic Fangio already had a scheduled interview with the Atlanta Falcons. I don't know if he completed that interview yet, but it seems like maybe because teams have to actually trade for Sean Payton now, which is kind of ridiculous, that Vic Fangio is like, I need to do my own thing. I need to just keep my options open. Vic Fangio has been a consultant for the Eagles. He was at the Eagles OTAs, training camp, preseason games, you name it. I don't know what he's doing here as a consultant. Is he helping Jonathan Gannon? I have no idea. Not really sure. Then they brought Marcus Brady in to help, an offensive coordinator, and Marcus Brady, coming in as an offensive assistant to help Gannon with the defense. So I don't know what was going on with all of that. So what is Vic Fangio doing in Philadelphia? I said a few weeks ago they have to try, and I don't know how they were going to let Vic Fangio out the door since he's got close relations within the Eagles organization. Okay. Are they going to let him go? Is he going to stay here as a defensive coordinator? I said the Eagles are probably going to have to, that would be like their prime guy for next year, right? For defensive coordinator, it would have to be. And then you look at it and you say, okay, Gannon played a really good playoff game against the Giants. If Jonathan Gannon and if the Eagles just get to 2 more games, okay, if they get to 2 more games and win the whole thing and Gannon is playing lights out, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but I think I'm going to want to keep Jonathan Gannon here. It's weird. I know. It's early to say, but I like Gannon. The philosophy I haven't really loved. We've gotten 14 wins out of this defense and 4 players with, double-digit sacks on the defensive line, 2 top 5 cornerbacks. All the moves that Howie has made have been almost perfect. It's going to be really tough for me for Gannon to go in a weird way. It's weird. It's going to be really weird. You have the multiple fronts with Jonathan Gannon, does different things, and the last few weeks of the season, of the regular season, we were told, rumor-wise, that Gannon was kind of hiding a lot of plays and hiding a lot of plays throughout the year. Saw a totally different defense, play calling wise, in that Giants divisional game. It's going to be really tough. I know I'm very 50-50 on Gannon with a lot of things because I don't hate him as a defensive coordinator. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like he brings some good things to the table, but then there's things where I didn't like teams coming back in these games and the Eagles taking big leads and just letting teams back into these games, which statistically our defense would look a lot better on paper. Okay, it would look a lot better stat-wise, but don't attack me over it. But it's going to be interesting the way Gannon plays these next two games, especially if they win this week against the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. If he plays lights out, if he plays better than I expect play calling-wise, and not only did what he did to the Giants, but do what he's going to do to Brock Purdy and the 49ers offense, it's going to be really tough to say, like, Gannon, can they really hold Gannon in Philadelphia? And I understand some fans are not going to want him here. Some fans are going to want to change. And is Vic Fangio the right answer? As to what's available, yes. I would say Vic Fangio, Brian Flores, maybe Todd Bowles. I mean, I don't know. Vic Fangio would be my number one. I think it's going to be either Vic Fangio as a defensive coordinator for the Eagles next year, or it's going to be Denard Wilson. Promoting from within. Denard Wilson is Gannon's right-hand man. He is the He is the cornerback coach, and I think he's like the assistant defensive head coach or something like that, for the Eagles as well. He's got like two labels to him for what he's doing. But I'm very up and down about this whole situation for this defensive coordinator thing, because I'm not like, oh, he needs to go, he needs to leave so bad. Like, I've complained about him this year, but he's done a good job. It's opened my eyes a little bit that I don't really like his philosophy that much. I think a lot of fans really don't like the philosophy of taking your foot off the gas, and I don't like it either. But is this the new way of coaching? Because if Vic Fangio comes in and, God forbid, shouldn't fail, but God forbid he's too aggressive. He's way too aggressive, because look at the Giants. Look what happened with the Giants. They've lost games because they blitzed too much. Look at the Ravens, another team that blitzed a lot this past year, and look where they're at. You know what I mean? So not saying that blitzing is everything, but when you don't have guys in the box, you're letting teams run on you for 5+ free yards. And this was after the Jordan Davis injury. Well, before the Jordan Davis injury, and teams were starting to come back into games. Like, it really annoyed me. But the record is the record of what it is. It's what it is. But when it comes down to a lot of other teams around the league, there's a few teams around the league that have blitzed a lot this year, and they're not even in the playoffs right now. You understand? So Jonathan Gannon especially took what he took from Mike Zimmer when he was a defensive assistant, and doing the, disguising fronts, multiple fronts, and dialing up pressure in different ways, whether it's just a normal blitz or it's a safety blitz or it's these stunts with the defensive line, always resulting in really good pressures on the quarterback, which I've been, Gannon's been A+ in the playoffs so far, A+. I mean, dominating performance by this defense. So I don't think Gannon's going to be here regardless. I think if Albert Breer is right, and the Texans aren't even interviewing anybody else right now. I don't even see any other names on the list right now. There probably is going to be more interviews. But they wanted Gannon this past year, and they got Lovie Smith. And I think they regret not getting Jonathan Gannon. Even Nick Sirianni at his press conference post-game defended Jonathan Gannon. Saying, I don't know why people don't like Jonathan Gannon. He questions why. Didn't say Eagles fans. He talked about the radio show at WIP with Angelo not liking Jonathan Gannon. That he's going to have something to say, which he probably did Monday morning, which he probably had a lot to say about, why they're attacking him so much. Nick Sirianni said Jonathan Gannon is going to be a head coach. He said that at the press conference. Now, did he say he was going to be a head coach after this year? No idea, but it sounds like it's pretty promising that they're losing Jonathan Gannon. Whether you're happy, sad, me being up and down about it because he's playing really well right now in the playoffs. And if they were holding back these defense, a lot of this defensive scheme that he really wanted to unleash and didn't do it during the regular season, it's going to be tough to let him go too. Because, like I said, Vic Fangio, nothing's promised. You're promised an aggressive defense, but is it going to be a fail? I mean, look, like Vic Fangio's a good defensive coordinator. He took the year off. He worked with the Eagles as a consultant. Will he be good next year? Is it an upgrade? Because if anything happens, if Vic Fangio is not working out as the defensive coordinator we wanted him to be, I got a feeling next year we're going to be missing Jonathan Gannon a lot. So I'm very up and down about this whole situation, but it's very good news to see that Fangio is really the first choice and aggressively trying to go after him. And it's probably not going to take much. It's probably not going to take that much, to be honest. I mean, he's in the building. He's there. They could talk to him, So the Eagles are not only trying to get prepared for a very important game this year. They win this weekend. They go to the Super Bowl. But they have to do their homework on, and stay close with Gannon and say, Gannon, like, what does it look like? You look like you're going to be a head coach. I think the deal is already done with the Texans. I think he's already going to be going there. I mean, regardless if it's the Texans or not, I think he's already leaving. I think it's done. I haven't seen other teams interested in Gannon, so I'm not really sure what other teams are really throwing themselves at him right now. But when it comes down to it, I think he's gone. And I'm hoping whatever next defensive coordinator comes in here is going to do a really good job. And you're going to have a different coordinator from a young defensive coordinator going, now is going to, he's going to be a head coach going to his third year as a brand new head coach in Jonathan Gannon, to an older, good reputation defensive coordinator in Vic Fangio. So like I said, just because, and I've looked at the stats to a lot of teams, like just because it's not even just the blitzing aspect of it. It's the soft zone coverage and letting these receivers and tight ends off the line with these free releases, barely even these corners being physical with these guys, pushing the corners back. It's sometimes it's that problem that I have an issue with. I have no problem with playing zone, but when you play it the right way, you can do a lot of good things. Because I think the Eagles have the best roster in the NFL, especially defensively. I think the Eagles have, because Gannon made the excuse last year in 21 that he didn't have the right players for the scheme that he wanted, and this year he did, and look what happened. You know what I mean? I don't like the cautiousness in this defense. I don't like how they push players back. I don't like how they do things in some aspects. He's not a bad defensive coordinator. It's just sometimes they let these teams get back into games and they play off. And I don't like when they move these corners back. I don't like when they have nobody in the box. You know what I mean? And they run. And when we were having trouble against the run at one point this year, and this was before we got Linval and Ndamukong Suh and made Fletcher Cox a better player, teams were getting 5+ yards, easy carries, because they had nobody in the box. Like, that was the problem. And like I said, blitzing isn't the main issue here. It's just the cautiousness. If you're not even playing basic and you're not blitzing, that's an issue. You're letting these teams come back when you have leads. And I understand you don't want to garner more injury or you don't want anything bad to happen, but you got to play football at the end of the day. Statistically, the Eagles would look so much better this year, but because Gann let, our statistics kind of suffered this year because of how he played bend, don't break, and that's been the issue. So like I said, for the last time I'm going to say this, if Fangio comes in, he gets hired, and there's nothing they could possibly do if Fangio just doesn't play well, it doesn't, scheme this defense well going into next year, you could be missing Jonathan Gannon a lot next year. That's the only really thing I worry about with a new defensive coordinator. And I know it sounds weird because now it's like, oh, Joe, now you're praising Jonathan Gannon. No, I praise him for a lot of things, but there's a couple things I just have an issue with the philosophy of how he does things. That's all it is. And like I said, blitzing is not everything with this defense. That's not the only problem. If you're blitzing, it's one hand, but if you're pushing players, if players are moving back, nobody in the box, you're giving teams free runs, and these teams are coming back into games. That's the only issue that I have. The multiple different fronts, disguising coverages, I like, but when it's that cautious moment, bend don't break, it's what I really don't like. Could Vic Fangio be a better defensive coordinator for this team? We're gonna find out. It's gonna be tough, man. You can't crap on Gannon if he wins a Super Bowl this year. You can't. You just can't. You know what I mean? Defense didn't look good the last few weeks of the regular season, okay? And games throughout the season. But look where the record is. Look where we are. I mean, that's the stuff I can't be blind to, but I have to be realistic as well, what I don't like and what I like. It's only my opinion. My opinion doesn't matter. I'm just a fan at the end of the day. So, aggressively, the Eagles are doing their homework right now, and 100 million %, Gannon's gone. Gannon is definitely gone. And Sirianni's not going to stop him. Sirianni's not going to beg him to stay, but, Gannon's going to deserve his shot, like a lot of other coaches are going to deserve their shot to be defensive coordinator. So it's an up and down moment for me, because they're playing so well right now, and you got 2 more games left. I mean, that's it. You win this week, you're in the Super Bowl, and they win it all, and Gannon is playing lights out. It's going to be tough for me to let him go. It's right there in front of you. You win a Super Bowl with a defensive coordinator, it's hard for me to let him go. Simple as that. So, other than that, guys, we have other news on the injuries with Avonte Maddox, A.J. Brown. We'll talk about Maddox real quick. Now, there was some news here from Sirianni saying that we'll see. We're hopeful that Maddox will return, but he's still got to get out there and run on the field. There's some unknown there, Sirianni said. So, like I said, he didn't practice enough last week before the first playoff game against the Giants. He didn't practice enough. I think he practiced the last 2 days. He was just warming up and doing some specific work just a little bit. So this week will tell us. But I got no problem keeping Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in the nickel spot with Reed Blankenship at safety. I have no issue with any of that. I think it's a good idea. You know what I mean? So the Eagles always have a second plan, you know what I mean? The Eagles have, Anthony Harris is on the practice squad right now. They actually moved him up to the active roster but didn't play him. So there's a lot of different things going on. So I have no issue with Avonte Maddox coming back. I mean, him coming back is great for that nickel spot. Put Chauncey at safety. Could probably help for this week against those wide receivers, depending on how much pressure we get on Purdy, and stuff like that. So it should be interesting. But Avonte Maddox, it doesn't seem promising, and it doesn't seem it's just too early in the week right now. By Friday, Saturday, which we don't have a game till Sunday at 3:00 p.m. Eastern, which is good at the link. We'll find out more on the Maddox injury. Now the A.J. Brown situation, finally, we get the answers on what's going on. So this is what Nick Sirianni had to say about the whole A.J. Brown situation, okay? He said, quote unquote, he was going through a little something with his body that was hurting him, said head coach Nick Sirianni Monday afternoon. We feel like he'll be ready to go this week, but he was hurting in that game. That's why he wasn't in the game. So a lingering injury for A.J. Brown. So probably going to get a ton of rest this week. I could tell. I didn't know if it was injured. He got injured. He was injured, I guess. He didn't go into the blue tent, so it's obviously not serious. Okay, it's not serious. And that was pretty much it. Jalen Hurts missed. Overthrew a ball over A.J. Brown's head. A.J. Brown landed on the ground, and he got up real slowly, and we didn't know what was going on with that. And he just didn't want to get benched, really. He didn't get benched in a bad way, but the Eagles were going to run the football a lot, and they didn't need him on the field. There was it was out of Nick's own, we want to keep you healthy, okay? We want to keep you healthy, and we don't need you to play in this game. We won this game. It's over. Just stay on the sideline. And A.J. Brown was mad, but after the game, he said he was all good. It's in the moment, guys. Sometimes it's in the moment where, he just wants to stay on the field. Obviously, his statistics weren't great. He wanted to do more in that game. He had some good blocks in that game. He was one of the reasons why we had that Devontae Smith touchdown on the right side with that bubble screen. There was a lot of different things that A.J. Brown did. Necessarily didn't need to have the yards because Dallas got 268 yards rushing with all these running backs. plus Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert really doing a good job the whole day. So, like, a lot of people were calling him a diva, like he shouldn't be acting like this, but I think it was just in the moment. He didn't want to take himself out of the game. He missed an opportunity for a touchdown because Jalen Hurts overthrew the ball, got up slowly, had a little bit of a lingering injury that probably wasn't that serious. And Sirianni said, and just benched him. That was it. And A.J. Brown was mad. Simple as that. I mean, that's all it is. And then I don't blame Nick for doing that. At least we got Lane Johnson out of the game. We only had a couple starters. We had Kenneth Gainwell and probably like Dickerson and one other offensive lineman that was still really playing when they put the backups in the game. So I'm not going to make a big deal out of that. And A.J. Brown shouldn't make a big deal out of that either. So should be interesting. But other than that, that's pretty much it. I mean, that's the news so far. We're going to get more updates on the Eagles' injuries, stuff like that throughout the week. Lane Johnson seems to be doing pretty well. You know what I mean? Played 68 snaps, which is pretty good for having an abductor injury, which is kind of nuts. And that's pretty much it. We're ready to go. I'm excited. But the whole Jonathan Gannon thing is going to be for me, it's going to be like this. Because if he plays too well in the playoffs, man, it's going to be tough. It's going to be real tough. And, at least the Eagles are doing their homework and they're aggressively trying to have a backup plan. They need to have a backup plan for both coordinators regardless. So you're going to find something here, whether it's Denard Wilson or Vic Fangio aggressively. That sounds like, yeah, they really want him. They really want him. He's been around the building. He's been around the players. Everybody knows him. You know what I mean? It's probably a good spot for him because then you don't have to bring in a brand new guy. Everyone has to get to know him, what his scheme is, I know what we're going to get out of Vic Fangio. Got a good resume. But will getting rid of Jonathan Gannon be an issue next year? We'll just have to see on what they're going to make. But at least they're doing their homework. Other than that, guys, pretty much it. I'll see you guys on the next one. SHAKESQUAD up, follows live. Peace out, guys. Peace.